the great source is teacher. To understand what is done by heaven and also what is to be done by man, that is the utmost. To understand what is done by the heavenly, just in being the heavenly as the way all beings are born, what it does is bring them into being. To understand what is to be done by the human, that would be to use what your understanding understands to nurture what your understanding does not understand. You could then live out all your natural years without being cut down halfway. And that would indeed be the richest sort of knowledge. However, there is a problem here. For our understanding can be in the right only by virtue of a relation of dependence on something, and what it depends on is always peculiarly unfixed. So how could I know whether what I call the heavenly is not really the human? How could I know whether what I call the human is not really the heavenly? Let us say instead then that there can be genuine knowledge only when there is such a thing as a genuine human being. And what do we mean by a genuine human being? The genuine human beings of old did not revolt against their inadequacies, did not aspire to completeness, did not plan their affairs in advance. In this way, they could be wrong or they could be right, but without regret and without self-satisfaction. And thus they could ascend the heights without fear, submerge into the depths without getting drenched, enter the flames without feeling hot. Such was the way their understanding was able, in its very demise, to ascend through the remotest vistas of the course. The genuine human beings of old slept without dreaming and awoke without worries. Their food was plain, but their breathing was deep. The genuine human beings breathed from their heels, while the mass of men breathed from their throats. Submissive and defeated, they gulp down their words and just as soon vomit them back up. Their preferences and desires run deep, but the heavenly impulse is shallow in them. The genuine human beings of old understood nothing about delighting in being alive or hating death. They emerged without delight, submerged again without resistance. Swooping in they came and swooping out they went, that and no more. They neither forgot where they came from nor asked where they would go. Receiving it, they delighted in it. Forgetting about it, they gave it back. This is what it means not to use the mind to push away the course, not to use the human to try to help the heavenly. Such is what I'd call being a genuine human being. Being thus, their minds were intent, their faces tranquil, their foreheads broad and plain. They were cool like the autumn, warm like the spring, their joy and their anger intermingled with the four seasons. They found something fitting in their encounter with each thing, and none could tell exactly what their ultimate end might be. Hence, if the sage uses force, he may destroy nations without losing the hearts of the people. His kindness and bounty may extend to 10,000 generations, but not because he harbors any love for humankind. So he may take joy in clearing the way for things, but he is not being a sage. He may have a certain intimacy with others, but he is not being humane. His timeliness is of heaven, but he is not being a worthy man. Benefit and harm do not get through to him, but he is not being an exemplary man. He may do what his designated role requires, ignoring his personal interests, but he is not being a steadfast knight. He may lose his life without losing what is most genuine to him, but he is not being a man devoted to service. Su Buxi, Wu Guang, Bo Yi, Shu Qi, Qi Zi, Suyu, Ji Tua, and Shintadi served in the service of others, took comfort in the comfort of others, but failed to take comfort in their own comfort. The genuine human beings of old seemed to do whatever was called for, but were not partisan to any one course. They appeared to be in want, but accepted no assistance. Taking part in all things, they were solitary but never rigid. Spreading out everywhere, they were empty but never insubstantial. Cheerful, they seemed to be enjoying themselves. Impelled along, they did what they could not help doing. They let everything gather within them, but still it manifested outwardly to the world as their own countenance. They gave it all away, but still it rested securely within them as their own virtuosity. Leprous with symptoms, they seemed just like everyone else. Haughty, nothing could control them. Unbreached, they seemed to prefer to close themselves off. Oblivious, they would forget what they were saying. They took punishments as their own body, ritual as their wings, understanding as a temporary expedient, and virtuosity as a sliding along. With punishments as their own body, they could kill or be killed gracefully. With ritual as their wings, they could get around in the world. Their understanding was a temporary expedient arising only when the situation made it unavoidable. Their virtuosity was a sliding along, like strolling with other able-legged people through the village, so to speak, and yet others thought they had worked hard to get there. Thus, what they liked was the oneness of things, but what they disliked was also the oneness of things. Their oneness was the oneness, but their non-oneness was also the oneness. In their oneness, they were followers of the heavenly. In their non-oneness, they were followers of the human. This is what it is for neither the heavenly nor the human to win out over the other. And that is what I call being both genuine and human, a genuine human being. Life and death are fated, and that they come with the regularity of day and night is of heaven, that which humans can do nothing about, simply the way things are. Merely because they look on heaven as their father, people go on to offer it their love, how much more for that which towers even higher. Merely because they see their ruler as above themselves, people can even die without regret, how much more in the face of what is all the more genuinely ruling. When the springs dry up, the fish have to cluster together on the shore, gasping on each other to keep damp and spitting on each other to stay wet. But that is no match for forgetting all about one another in the rivers and lakes. Rather than praising you and condemning Jia, we'd be better off forgetting them both and transforming along our own courses. The great clump burdens me with a physical form, labors me with life, eases me with old age, rests me with death. So it is precisely because I consider my life good that I consider my death good. You may hide a boat in a ravine or a net in a swamp, thinking it is secure there. But in the middle of the night, a mighty one comes along and carries it away on his back, unbeknownst to you in your slumber. When the smaller is hidden within the larger, there remains someplace into which it can escape. But if you hide the world in the world, so there is nowhere for anything to escape to, this is an arrangement, the vastest arrangement, that can sustain all things. This human form is merely a circumstance that has been met with, just something stumbled into, but those who have become humans take delight in it nonetheless. Now the human form in its time undergoes 10,000 transformations, never stopping for an instant, so the joys it brings must be beyond calculation. Hence, the sage uses it to roam in that from which nothing ever escapes, where all things are maintained. Early death, old age, the beginning, the end, this allows him to see each of them as good. People may try to model themselves on him, but they would be better off emulating what ties all things together, on which depends even their slightest transformation, on which depends the total mass of transformation that they are. The course has a certain realness and reliability to it, but no deliberate activity and no definite form. It can be transmitted but not received, attained but not shown. Being its own root and its own foundation, it exists firmly even when heaven and earth are not yet there. It makes the spirits and the Lord on high divine, generates both heaven and earth. It is above the summit without being high, beneath the nadir without being deep. It precedes heaven and earth without being of long duration. It is elder to the earliest antiquity without being old. Shiwei got it and thereby put the measure around heaven and earth. Fuxi got it and thereby inherited the matrix of vital energy. The Big Dipper got it and thereby has remained undeflected since antiquity. The sun and moon got it and thereby have continued on without cease since antiquity. Kampi got it and thereby inherited the power of Mt. Kunlun. Pingi got it and thereby roams the great rivers. Jian Wu got it and thereby dwells on the heights of Mt. Tai. The Yellow Emperor got it and ascended the clouds of heaven. Chuang Tzu got it and thereby occupies the dark palace. Yu Chang got it and thereby took his place at the northern extremity. The Queen Mother of the West got it and thereby took her seat on Mt. Shaoguang. No one knows her beginning or her end. Panzu got it and thereby remained alive all the way back from the time of Shun Youyu down to the time of the Five Tyrants. Fu got it and thereby ministered to Wuding, who took possession of the world, rode upon the Dongwei galaxy, mounted upon the Chiwei constellation, and assumed his place arrayed among the stars. Born without father or mother, his death was an ascension into the distance, going on until his body finally vanished entirely 3 years later. All of which is to say that a single identity can never be designated for the spirit. Nambwa Zikue said to Lady Ju, "You are old and yet your face is still that of a child." "How?" Lady Ju said, "I have heard the course." Nambu Ezekue said, "May I learn this course?" Lady Ju said, No. How could you? You are not the right person for the job. Now, Pulioni had the innate powers of a sage, but not the course of a sage. I had the course of a sage, but no student with the innate powers of a sage. So I wanted to teach him, thinking he would immediately become a sage. Although it was not quite like that, it was still very easy to announce the course of a sage to one who already has the innate powers of a sage. So I kept at him, and after 3 days he was able to put the world outside himself. After that I kept at him for 7 more days, and he was able to put his own life outside himself. With life fully cast out, the first rays of dawn could break through. After the breaking through of the dawn, he could see the singularity. After seeing the singularity, he could free himself of past and present. Free of past and present, he could enter the unborn and undying. What kills all the living does not die. What gives birth to all the living is not born. It is something that sends all beings off and welcomes all beings in, destroys all and completes all. Its name is the tranquility of turmoil. This tranquil turmoil, it is what reaches completion only through its turmoil. Nambu Ezekue said, "Where did you learn of this?" Lady Ju said, "I learned it from the son of Aided Bying, who learned it from the grandson of Caught in Recitation, who learned it from Look and See, who learned it from Heard in a Whisper, who learned it from In Need of Labor, who learned it from There in the Singing, who learned it from Dark Oblivion, who learned it from Joined in the Void, who learned it from Perhaps a Beginning." Ziji, Ziyu, Zili, and Zilai were talking. One of them said, "Who can see nothingness as his own head, life as his own spine, and death as his own ass? Who knows the single body formed by life and death, existence and non-existence? I will be his friend." The 4 looked at one another and laughed, feeling complete concord, and became friends. Suddenly Ziyu took ill. Ziji went to see him. Ziyu said, "How great is the creator of things, making me all tangled up like this." For his chin was tucked into his navel, his shoulders towered over the crown of his head, his ponytail pointed toward the sky, his 5 internal organs at the top of him, his thigh bones taking the place of his ribs, and his yin and yang energies in chaos. But his mind was relaxed and unbothered. He hobbled over to the well to get a look at his reflection. "Wow," he said, "the creator of things has really gone and tangled me up." Ziji said, "Do you dislike it?" Ziyu said, "Not at all. What is there to dislike? Perhaps he will transform my left arm into a rooster, thereby I'll be announcing the dawn. Perhaps he will transform my right arm into a crossbow pellet, thereby I'll be seeking out an owl to roast. Perhaps he will transform my ass into wheels and my spirit into a horse, thereby I'll be riding along. Will I need any other vehicle? Anyway, getting it is a matter of the time coming, and losing it is just something else to follow along with. Content in the time and finding one's place in the process of following along, joy and sorrow are unable to seep in. This is what the ancients called the dangle and release. We cannot release ourselves. Being beings, we are always tied up by something. But it has long been the case that mere beings cannot overpower heaven. What is there for me to dislike about it?" Suddenly Zilai fell ill. Gasping and wheezing on the verge of keeling over, he was surrounded by his weeping family. Zili, coming to visit him, said to them, "Ach, away with you. Do not disturb his transformation." Leaning across the windowsill, he said to the invalid, "How great is the process of creation transformation? What will it make you become? Where will it send you? Will it make you into a mouse's liver? Or perhaps an insect's arm?" Zilai said, "A child obeys his parents wherever they may send him, north, south, east, or west. Now, yin and yang are much more to a man than his parents. If they send me to my death and I disobey them, that would make me a traitor. What fault would it be of theirs? The great clump burdens me with a physical form, labors me with life, eases me with old age, and rests me with death. Hence it is precisely because I regard my life as good that I regard my death as good. Now, suppose a great master smith were casting metal. If the metal jumped up and said, 'I insist on being nothing but an Excalibur,' the smith would surely consider it to be an inauspicious chunk of metal. Now, if I, having happened to stumble into a human form, should insist, 'Only a human, creation transformation would certainly consider me an inauspicious chunk of person. So now I look upon all heaven and earth as a great furnace and creation transformation as a great blacksmith. Where could I go that would not be all right? All at once I fall asleep. With a start I awaken. Sasangu, Mengzafan, and Zikinshang came together in friendship, saying, who can be together in their very not being together, do things for one another by not doing things for one another? Who can climb up upon the heavens, roaming on the mists, twisting and turning round and round without limit, living their lives in mutual forgetfulness, never coming to an end. The three of them looked at one another and burst out laughing, feeling complete concord, and thus did they become friends. After a short silence, without warning, Sasangu fell down dead. Before his burial, Confucius got the news and sent Zhigang to pay his respects. There he found them, one of them composing music, the other plucking the zither, and finally both of them singing together in harmony. Hey Sangu, come on back, why don't you? Hey Sangu, come on back, why don't you? You've returned to what we are really. While we're still humans, wow, yippee. Zhigang rushed forward and said, may I venture to ask, is it ritually proper to sing at a corpse like that? The two of them looked at each other and laughed, saying, what does this fellow understand about the real point of ritual? Zhigang returned and reported this to Confucius, asking, what kind of people are these? They do not cultivate their characters in the least, and they treat their bodies as external to themselves, singing at a corpse without the least change of expression. I don't know what to call them. What sort of people are they? Confucius said, these are men who roam outside the lines. I, on the other hand, do my roaming inside the lines. The twain can never meet. It was vulgar of me to send you to mourn for such a person. For the previous while, he had been chumming around as a human with the creator of things, and now he roams in the single vital energy of heaven and earth. Men such as these look upon life as a dangling wart or swollen pimple, and on death as it's dropping off, it's bursting and draining. Being such, what would they understand about which is life and which is death, what comes before and what comes after? Depending on all their diverse borrowings, they yet lodge securely in the one and only self-same body. They forget all about their livers and gallbladders, cast away their eyes and ears, reversing and returning, ending and beginning, knowing no start or finish. Oblivious, they drift uncommitted beyond the dust and grime, far-flung and unfettered in the great work of doing nothing in particular. Why would they do something as stupid as practicing conventional rituals to impress the eyes and ears of the common crowd? Zhigang said, since you know this, master, of which zone do you consider yourself a citizen? Confucius said, as for myself, I am a victim of heaven. But that is something you and I may share. Zhigang said, please tell me more. Confucius said, fish come together in water and human beings come together in the course. Those who meet each other in the water do so by darting through the ponds, thus finding their nourishment and support. Those who meet each other in the course do so by not being bothered to serve any one particular goal, thereby allowing the flow of their lives to settle into stability. Thus it is said, fish forget one another in the rivers and lakes, and human beings forget one another in the arts of the course. Zhigang said, but please explain to me about these freakish people. Confucius said, they are freakish to humans but normal to heaven. So it is said, he who to heaven is a petty man is to the people an exemplary man, while he who to heaven is an exemplary man is to the people a petty man. Yan Hui went to question Confucius. When his mother died, Mengsun Kai wailed but shed no tears, unsaddened in the depths of his heart, observing the mourning but without real sorrow. Lacking tears, inner sadness, and real grief, he nonetheless gained a reputation throughout Lu as an exemplary mourner. Is it really possible to have a reputation that is utterly at odds with reality? I have always found it very strange. Confucius said, Mengsun Kai has gone to the very end of this matter, beyond merely understanding it. For when you try to simplify things for yourself but find it impossible to do so, things have already been simplified for you. This Mr. Mengsun understands nothing about why he lives or why he dies. His ignorance applies equally to what went before and what is yet to come. Having already transformed into some particular being, he takes it as no more than a waiting for the next transformation into the unknown, nothing more. When he's in the process of transforming, what could he know about not transforming? When he's no longer transforming, what could he know about whatever transformations he's already been through? You and I, conversely, are dreamers who have not yet begun to awaken. As for him, his physical form may meet with shocks, but this does not harm his mind. His life is to him but a morning's lodging, so he does no real dying. This Mr. Meng's son alone has awakened. Others cry, so he cries too. And that is the only reason he does so. You temporarily get involved in something or other and proceed to call it myself, but how can we know if what we call self has any self to it? You dream you are a bird and find yourself soaring in the heavens. You dream you are a fish and find yourself submerged in the depths. I cannot even know if what I'm saying now is a dream or not. An upsurge of pleasure does not reach the smile it inspires. A burst of laughter does not reach the jest that evoked it. But when you rest securely in your place in the sequence, however things are arranged and yet separate each passing transformation from the rest, then you enter into the clear oneness of heaven. Yerzy went to see Suyu. Suyu asked him, "How did Joe instruct you?" Yerzy said, "He told me to submit wholeheartedly to humanity and responsibility and to speak clearly of right and wrong." Suyu said, "Then what on earth did you come here for? Yao has already tattooed your face with humanity and responsibility and denosed you with right and wrong. How can you ever roam in the far-flung and unconstrained paths of wild, unbound twirling and tumbling?" Yerzy said, "Nonetheless, I'd like to roam at least around its outskirts." Suyu said, "Not possible. The blind have no way to take part in the fineness of a lovely face, and the sightless have no way to take part in the marvel of vividly embroidered garments." Yerzy said, "But Wu Zhuang lost his beauty, Zhuliang lost his strength, the Yellow Emperor lost his wisdom, all from being knocked about in the great smelting and hammering. How do you know the creator of things will not wipe away my tattoo and restore my nose, making me intact to follow you?" Xiuyou said, "Ah, it is indeed unknowable. I will speak to you of the broad outlines then. My teacher, he destroys all things, but he is not being responsible and just. His bounty reaches all things, but he is not being humane and kind. He is an elder to the remotest antiquity, but without being old. He covers and supports heaven and earth and carves out all forms, but without being skillful. It is all the play of his wandering, nothing more." Yan Hui said, "I am making progress." Confucius said, "What do you mean?" Yan Hui said, "I have forgotten humanity and responsibility." Confucius said, "That's good, but you're still not there." Another day he came again and said, "I am making progress." "What do you mean?" "I have forgotten ritual and music." Confucius said, "That's good, but you're still not there." He returned another day and said yet again, "I am making progress." "What do you mean?" Yan Hui said, "I just sit and forget." Confucius, jolted as if kicked, said, "What do you mean, you sit and forget?" Yan Hui said, "It's a dropping away of my limbs and torso, a chasing off of my sensory acuity which disperses my physical form and ousts my understanding until I am the same as the transforming openness. This is what I call just sitting and forgetting." Confucius said, "The same as it? But then you are free of all preference. Transforming? But then you are free of all constancy. You truly are a worthy man. I beg to be accepted as your disciple." Ziyu and Zisong were friends. After 10 days of freezing rain, Ziyu said to himself, Zisong must be in distress. He packed up some rice to ease his friend's hunger. When he got to Zisong's gate, he heard a sound somewhere between singing and weeping, accompanied by the strum of a zither, forming the words, "Father? Mother? Heaven? Man?" Unable to sustain the sound, the voice collapsed brokenly through the lyric. Ziyu entered and said, "Why do you sing like this?" Zisong said, "I have been thinking about what could have caused me to reach this extreme state, and I could find no answer. My mother and father would surely never wish to impoverish me like this. Heaven covers all equally, earth supports all equally, so how could heaven and earth be so partial as to single me out for impoverishment? I search for some doer of it all but cannot find anything, and yet here I am in this extreme state all the same. This must be what is called fate, eh?"